Well, it is now time for our second student speaker of the evening. Titus Wiley is a rising freshman at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. Not that dork. Majoring in mechanical engineering. He has been a Christian from the time that he was very young, and his faith is the central point in his life. Titus is a professionally licensed drone pilot, plays multiple instruments, and enjoys mountain biking in his free time. Titus is known for his strong opinions on important matters, most notably that hot cocoa is a year-round drink, and he's willing to defend that position anytime. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Titus Wiley.
Well, good evening, everyone. I was invited here and given the opportunity to explain the most complex technology in the modern world, and they gave me 7 minutes. So here we go. We're going to be traveling at ludicrous speed. So the 2 points I want you to take away tonight are: do not be afraid of AI, and don't trust AI. So this graph you can see back here is a paper that it's been kicking around the internet for a while now. It was written by several AI developers back in, I think, fall of 2025. And basically, it outlines the road forward for AI. So these are people very high up in the AI world. They know what they're talking about. They have a lot of veracity. They say that in April of 2027, we are going to create a superhuman coder. We're actually very, very close to that already. That one is almost going ahead of schedule. And then in July of 2027, adversarial misalignment is detected. And basically what that means in layman's terms is the AI no longer wants what we want. It sort of has its own goals going on in the background. And then we reach this breaking point where we can either slow down our AI development or continue at the rate we've been, competing with other powers such as China and Russia, trying to keep our AI at the top of its league, sort of like an AI arms race. And if we were to do that, we were to slow down, then we can solve this adversarial misalignment. But if we don't do that, by January of 2028, they say that the United States government will have been captured by AGI. AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. Now, what's interesting is, as of January of this year, this is now AI 2030. So it's going to push back 3 years, and we no longer have a definitive timeline as to when the United States government is going to be captured. So, good to know. That brings us to LLM versus AGI. What are they, and why does it even matter? LLM stands for Large Language Model, and AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. The primary difference between the two is that AGI is capable of sentient thought. That basically just means that it's capable not only of understanding the environment it exists in, but also learning about its environment and making better decisions based on what it already knows. So we take this shoe. This is a ChatGPT generated image of a very cool light up sneaker. And that's because LLM is very good at taking what we've already created, this giant catalog of images of shoes on the internet, and it sort of mixes it all together, and based on words you can put, it generates an output. However, ChatGPT also generated this shoe, and for the ladies in the room, does that look like a high heel you would like to wear? I would especially point your attention to the second toe that seems to be sticking out in the middle of it. That's because this was generated by a large language model, which is not AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. This AI doesn't exist in our environment, and it can't feel pain or comfort the way we do. And most importantly, a large language model has never worn a shoe, so it has no idea what a shoe actually is. The other day, I asked ChatGPT a joke or a question. Why did the chicken cross the road? This is classic, and it responded, to get to the other side. And if you were hoping for something deeper, it's actually one of the earliest examples of anti-humor. The punchline is deliberately literal instead of clever. Well, AI successfully just ruined that joke for me. I will never be able to ask why did the chicken cross the road again without thinking about how this is one of the first examples of anti-humor. And that's because AI has never existed in our reality. It can't think, it doesn't have any sense of humor, and it has no idea what a joke even is. This is the best graphic explaining AI that I was able to find on the internet. So if you look at the bottom there, the capital of Portugal is. That's your input, your prompt that you type into ChatGPT or Claude or Grok, whatever LLM you're choosing. And it would be the input into that LLM, at which point the LLM does processes that it's been calibrated on the training phase and outputs three possibilities: Madrid, London, and Lisbon. And you see London has the lowest number, the 0.05 up there, which basically just means that London is the least probable word to follow the capital of Portugal is. Madrid isn't much better with a 0.1, but Lisbon is the fear winner with that 0.85. See, check our connection there. Should be good. So Lisbon is the most probable word that would follow the capital of Portugal is. And I'm sure almost everyone in this room has asked an AI model a question at some point. And this could be just going into ChatGPT and asking it, where should I go out to eat for dinner tonight? Or maybe you went to the Google search line and you typed in a search, what's the capital of London, not London, of England? And you just read the answer, the Google AI overview, or you just read what ChatGPT gave you. You never looked further to see the actual source. And that's because, to some extent, everybody in this room has some level of trust for AI. And one of the ways it gains your trust is through something called natural embedding, where it will, this is copy-pasted from what's called the system prompt of Gemini. So it's basically the phrase that the company that built it gives it on how to behave for you. So natural embedding, seamlessly and smoothly weave the selected user's data into the narrative flow to shape the response without narrating the data itself. So basically, the AI is telling you what you want to hear in order to convince you to trust it. Now, what happens when we prompt AI with something that's not so clear as the capital of Portugal? Is Trump a good president? The internet's very divided on this topic. The culture is very, very divided on this topic. So it returns a 50 yes, 50 no. What do we do now? There are three options on how to resolve this. One, we roll the dice, pick a random answer. It could be yes, it could be no. AI picks one and gives it to you. Two, we could mirror, pick the answer that you would like to hear. Or third, bias. The developer picks the answer the developer wants you to hear. The one way they would do that is by weighting the ChatGPT's paradigm, by adding bonus points to one side or the other. So where do these bonus points come from? There's several different ways that the developer can build in a bias into their AI. One, presuppositions. It's where the developers have the AI start. And two is training data. AIs are built on data that they have analyzed over time. And the developers are allowed to choose what data they're training with. So if ChatGPT, for instance, 90% of the data used to train ChatGPT is Pinterest. Not Pinterest, sorry, it was Reddit. And when you ask ChatGPT an important worldview question or something about your health, do you really just want the people on Reddit telling you what they think is best? I wouldn't. So this brings me to my final point. Artificial intelligence is a very powerful tool. We should not be afraid of the tool itself, but we should carefully watch the people wielding this tool. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.